All right, you guys, here we are. Here we are. I want to welcome Zakia back. She's been vacating.
I'm back.
You're back. You're back. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. I'm sure that you had a fabulous time on your cruise.
It was great. I'm back now. Focused and ready.
Focused and ready. Focused and ready. So listen, guys, we want for you to, as you're tuning in, to like and subscribe. Zakia and I are on a journey. We are on a journey to educate, inform, inspire those of you who desire to have a nonprofit organization to have one, but to do it the right way. How about the right way? Turn to your neighbor and say the right way. All right, the right way. There's a right way and there is a wrong way. And unfortunately, but factually, 82% of nonprofit organizations are running in a deficit. They're running well over their means. They're operating without the sustainability plan, without the structure, without the leadership potential to do even greater work than they could even hope or imagine. And it's only because of the foundation and how they started. Now, I want to remain on a very positive note because nothing that I say is intended. Okay. Nothing that I say is nothing that I say is ill-intended. It is intended to say, if you want to start a nonprofit, to be very clear about what a nonprofit is. And I want to always remind you of what is a nonprofit. A nonprofit is not a name. It is not an entity that stands by itself. It is a business. Turn to your other neighbor and say, did she say business? She said business. That means you've got to be able to run and operate a business that serves the community. Your product is your impact. I know Google don't say it like this, but your product is your impact. Your customers are your community supporters, your donors, and your funders, okay? Those are your customers, and you want them to keep coming back to your business because you are providing great product and good customer service. That's where their cultivation comes in, okay? So your nonprofit is a business whose business is solution. Your business is to solve a problem, and your business is to grow and expand to meet that great need. All right. So that is what I'm going to hopefully say if I remember, because, you know, my mind is getting to an age where I don't remember a lot.
Oh, that was good. That was really without the disclaimer.
Without the disclaimer.
Good.
I just want to keep it before you that this is the reason that Zakia and I are partnering together. Zakia is going to introduce herself, but for me, I am a person, an expert. I, don't like to brag, but I will and say that I've been doing this work for a long time, going on 35 years, actually. I've been doing the work in the nonprofit. I work for the NAACP. I've worked for United Way. I've worked for the Black Gates Institute. I've worked for American Red Cross. I've worked for Girl Scouts of the USA. And these are just a few names that you might recognize, but then there's a whole list that you would not, okay? So it's just a time with the experts. What makes me an expert is that I've worked in a lot of nonprofit organizations. I've helped a lot of nonprofits. And when I say a lot, I mean thousands of organizations raise money. I got an email this morning from Lady Louise over in Africa. She said we tripled her income over last year. Doing the work that we do. So all that to say, money is not your problem. Money is not your problem. If you are a nonprofit organization that is struggling with money, money is not your problem. Money is not your problem. I know you always say, yes, it is, Jen. Yes, it is. Money's my problem. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I'll get into that later, but no, it's not now. Zakia, I would love for you to introduce to our family and friends of nonprofit leaders who you are, where you are, and anything that you'd like to share with them today.
Thank you, Jen. So I'm Zakia Esper, the founder and executive director of Sowing Seeds into the Midlands. We're a nonprofit based here in Columbia, South Carolina, and our mission is to interrupt the school to prison pipeline via advocacy, education, and direct services. But I'm here today to join my friend Jen and chat about this industry that I've been in since I was 19, Jen.
What?
Um, yeah, I started Florence Crittendenn when I was 19. And so when I think about it, I'm 33. So it's been like over a decade, like 12, 13.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess you can take out the years when I was a PO. That's like minus 4 years, but
Yeah.
I still was working in that, in the helping human services industry. But I love this industry. I think it is necessary. I think that we can do a better job of understanding it so that we can honor it and make sure that we, are honoring the communities and the people or the missions that we want to push forward and impact. But that all comes with clarity and like Lady Jen said, doing things the right way. And there are so many of us who have good intentions, like you said, and just don't have the information. But now you can't say that no more because me and Lady Jen, first of all, I really can't say that because Lady Jen says all of that all day long on her page. Um, but I know for me, until I came into contact with you, I feel like we were doing a good job of like treading water, just kind of keeping our head above. But I'm always telling people when they could, because people come to me all the time, they want to start a nonprofit, that they need to talk to you because you have such amazing insight on what it really takes to sustain these things. So yeah, we're not here to discourage anybody. I mean, can we be real though? If you don't need to start one, we do want to discourage you because that's a part of honoring the industry, I
That's
think.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And wouldn't you rather a friend tell you the truth than to say, go ahead, start this thing and lose your mind, get frustrated, get discouraged, feel hopeless, get depressed, and feel like a failure because you
Mhm.
don't know what to do? I would rather someone say to me, hey, you might want to look into that. I'm not discouraging you from doing it, but just make sure you're clear about everything that that involves.
Yeah.
I want to empower you with knowledge. I want to empower you to be the best, right? To be the best, not to say, slow down and get, knowledge as if I am cautioning you from
Mhm.
going forward. It is, I want you to be prepared to be successful and to get and have access to all of the success that is available. And I think that when people start their nonprofits without that knowledge, they are setting themselves up to fail.
Oh.
When you started, Zakia, let's talk about when you started.
Mhm.
What was your thought of, now mind you guys, Zakia had worked in a nonprofit that was a very well established organization.
Mhm.
And you held the position of what? And then you decided, I'm going to start my nonprofit.
Yeah, I was a volunteer coordinator with them. I was an admin assistant. I was a what they call activities coordinator, which is sort of like a house, not a house parent, but I guess sort of like a house parent. I was right there working directly with the girls doing direct services. I think I had like 5 or 6 different positions there over the years, Jen. I did a little bit of everything.
Wow.
It didn't require like a specialized degree. If they could justify me doing it without having any degree or certification, I did it. Which gave me really great insight to being able to see firsthand, first of all, what kind of money is moving through that place. There's a lot of money,
Wow.
and to really understand what was at stake, like who had, because like you said, they've been around for over a century. So there were people in the community, and I think this is something that I've carried with me, that like had, they needed it to survive as well, right? So it's this thing that supports these girls, and it was amazing. But there were so many people who were so invested in it. That's what I want to say.
Mhm.
There are people that are invested in not just the mission, but in making sure that this thing stays around because it's been around, and my name's attached to it. I'm a sponsor. I'm a board member. These people. And so I think that's what was most fascinating to me. The more I like really got into seeing like where is all this money coming from, and this is coming from the people
Yeah.
in the community. people in the community. And I went and worked as a probation officer, and then I decided to start my nonprofit. And I like to tell people that it was out of necessity, not desire. Like, I did not want to start a nonprofit. That was never something that I just wanted to do. I talked about opening a group home when I was in college. Like, I did a project about opening a group home one time. And that was something I was like, well, maybe I could do that. But those are for profit. People don't realize that. A lot of those are for profit. That was my plan. If I was going to do that, I was going to go the for profit route. But when I got, really immersed into the system and started to understand how it worked, and saw that the young people that I was looking to help and support really didn't have safe spaces outside of, you know what, I could just say they really didn't have safe spaces.
Yeah.
And we were required to make these referrals for these things that they were supposed to be doing, like mentoring and sex ed and life skills, really general, simple stuff. And nobody would take our kids. And the places that would take them were either like, super fly by night. They were up one morning and then down the next, or just not reputable, just misspelled words in their flyers and stuff. And I can't send my kids to a place that's, if you're going to counsel, you got to be able to spell counseling. And we were getting flyers that literally had the word counseling spelled wrong. And I was like, come on, y'all, can't send you these kids for that, So I felt like I had to. And not before I went to what was already existing and said, hey, look, this is what I'm running into, at my job. This is what we need. Is there a way for us to help you with that? Like, I even went to some programs and was like, what can we do to make this more seamless? And nobody wanted to play. And that's fine. They have the right to, not engage. So we end up here. It's been 6 years now. We incorporated in 2013. Oh, 7 years. Wow. October will be 7. My job in 2014. So
well, 7 has a really wonderful significance. So I believe that this is going to be a new season for Seeds. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's one of our, look at you. I like it. That's how I ended up here, though. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that journey, because I think that many people start and then they look for a mentor. When you decided to start, looking back now, did you think I probably need a mentor? Or did you think, oh, I'm gonna just start and donors are going to give? The reason I asked this question is because my mother and I were having this conversation on Sunday. We were talking about the homelessness issue here in Southern California, which is out of control. And for those of you who don't know, I work down in Skid Row, which is like the homeless capital of the world. There are more people homeless per capita within 8 or 9 blocks of Skid Row than anywhere else, right? It is like the homeless capital. And so her thing was, there should be housing and it should be free. Now that's a whole different conversation, political, financial, blah, blah, blah. But the point is this, her thought was, all you got to do is start a house and donors will give. And I'm like, yeah, that's not quite how that works.
Not
quite how that works.
Not watching your videos.
I'm like, do you not know who I am? What? You don't no, that's not how it works. But this is the perception of when people start. They think, I'm going to start and there are going to be donors that give.
Yeah.
What was your experience with donors or getting donors? And obviously, you can talk about your experience, but most people think, oh, my family will give, my friends will give. And they're like, listen, we can't give $400,000 a year to help you run this organization, right? So what was that like for you? Because we want to educate those who are in the vein of, I want to start, but I need support. Where do donors come from in your mind?
So I know you asked about having a mentor, and I did initially call a cousin of mine who I knew had a nonprofit, and she was very discouraging. First of all, don't do it. Second of all, and I was like, what? I called to get support so you can help me figure this thing out. She told me stuff like, you won't actually be able to like be in position to see any kids for probably like 5 years. Have I ever told you this before, Jen? I don't think I've ever told you this. Yeah, she was like, you'll probably like, it'll take you about 5 years to like lay the foundation and get things going and like build your board and do all these things. You probably won't see a kid for 5 years. And I was like, Yeah, I think that was our first and last conversation. I was like,
Wow.
even if you're right, that doesn't work for me. And so I'm gonna, you know me, I'm gonna go find another way because that doesn't work for me.
And why do you think she told you that? Was she trying to tell you a truth, or was she trying to really discourage you, or was she trying to help you realize something? Like, why would she say that, do you think?
I think she was telling me what her experience was or had been. And I don't know what level of guidance she had received, or if she, sort of did what a lot of people do, just jump out here and try to make it happen, which that would take you 5 years if you don't, you know, try to find some footing if you're just doing
Right.
something, I don't know. Like I remember, I just remember. I can tell you where I was when I had this conversation. Like I remember it that vividly because I was like, oh no, she got me wrong. Because no, 5 years is not. I can't wait 5 years to help these kids. That's why I quit my job. Like that doesn't
Wow.
work, you know. So as far as what I thought about donors, I was not thinking about donors. I was thinking about grants. Grants was my mindset behind the money. I was like, oh, I can pay for this because I know that it's justified because I know the numbers because I came from the system. There has to be a grant out here that fits us
Mhm.
and we'll just get it. And that'll be that. That's I oversimplified the grant making process. But as far as donors, we actually did our first fundraiser to raise the money to get our 501c3, which was a Zumbathon.
Oh, wow.
um, yeah, we did a Zumbathon, which is now I would never do because it's totally unrelated from anything we do. It's just super random. But it was that time. You remember when that was a thing?
Mhm. Mhm.
So we did a Zumbathon and a health and wellness fair at this local city park. They gave us 2 rooms and it was great. It was really well attended. We charged $10 for the tickets. We did like raffles and giveaways, and there were people with food and there was music and it was fun. People were really excited about it. And so that is our very first like fundraising initiative in my mind. Because a lot of people still don't believe. I have never, still to this day, spent a dime of my own money on seeds.
Mhm.
And I I was clear that that's how it was supposed to be. I don't know if I knew that coming from the other org that I was at, but I just knew it wasn't supposed to be my money.
Mhm.
I just was like, no, I don't. One, I couldn't afford it, but also I just knew that it didn't belong to me. That was one thing I've always been clear about, that it's not mine.
Well, let's
Um,
talk about that. Let's just talk about that, because when we're talking about money
mhm,
and the organization not belonging to the leader, right? And it belongs to the community.
mhm,
When it talks about, I want to run this program on other people's money,
mhm,
right? The message really is, and you can tell me if you agree with this or not. The message is, as a community, we share responsibility and acceptance
mhm.
that we can make a change. And
Yes.
by our organization providing a valuable service, the supporters are joining us with their resource. You, as the leader, you're working, I mean, you're there from sun up to sundown, right? So money couldn't even pay you for the
Right.
long hours and the phone calls that I know that the kids call, the mothers call, you got parole officers calling, you've got, people who are lost and who are in emergency situations, they are calling you
Yes.
morning, noon, and night. All
Mhm,
right. So I want you all to hear us when we say that it is a community organization. The money part is just a fruit
mhm.
of people sharing what they value, right?
Yes.
They value the work and they support the work and they do it in a tangible way. You they couldn't pay you for the number of hours. I mean, even at minimum wage, they could not pay
Mhm,
all of the blood, sweat, tears,
mhm.
hand holding, rocking, running, from one end of town to the other for graduations and parties and celebrations of your kids.
Mhm.
Um, you give far, 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 far more
Thank you.
than the
You made me cry.
community could, you know but that is the equal passion. Your passion equaled with the passion of your donors and supporters, and they join you by sharing their resource, be it time, be it influence, be it money, right? So I want you all to hear me that when she says, you know, it shouldn't be my money, she's giving more. You're giving more than money. You're giving of your vision, you know, and being a vision carrier is not easy.
Yeah.
And for most of us, it'd be like, keep your money and let me go do something else, right?
I was, some days I wish I could just mind my own business. Insurance, check every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
driving state cars with a state gas card. It was beautiful. It wasn't really beautiful, but it was, I knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And like you said, this is definitely, but this is hard work for me, and it's like, I'm clear that I was called to it. Um, in this way.
Mhm.
And I think that's the piece for us, right? I think that's where some of us get mixed up. And I don't want to get too off subject, but like, we feel passionate about something and it's like, oh, I want to help in this area. But this is not the only way to help in this area. I think we have to be clear about like our routes, our routes to impact and our routes to mission. Like that, we really have to be clear about that. But to your point, Jen, I learned a lot at the master class. And I can never remember her name, but there was one of the people who joined us via Skype who talked about making room for people at the table.
Veja Nelson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. It was great, and it was affirming, but also informative for me because I realized I was like, oh, we've done a good job of doing that as it relates to making sure that donors know that we as organizations see this as like you just said, it's the responsibility of the community to make sure that this work is funded. And I honestly, it behooves you. You want me to do this work because it costs way less for me to do this work than to house our kids in jail. Even if you just aren't somebody that cares about children going to jail, if that's not your concern, you would rather spend $250 for a kid to go to a 5-week camp than $437 a day for that same kid to be in jail, not getting any of the services that we're doing here.
Mhm.
You know,
And come
so
out the same way. They're gonna come out exactly the same way that they
worse, they're
were.
going to be institutionalized. They're going to have new tricks from their friends who are in there with them. They're going to come and they're going to be traumatized because children don't belong in jail. You know, and that's sort of the messaging that I've always led with, because I'm like, if you want, because people love to say kids these days, kids doing this. I'm like, well, if y'all give them somewhere to go, maybe maybe they won't be tearing up your yard and I don't know, vandalizing your mailbox or whatever kids are doing these days. If you ask those same kids, if I had a place for you from 4 to 6 in the afternoon with people your age, with food that you want to eat, with activities, would you go? Yeah, they would go. But if we don't have anything for them, we can't really complain about. It costs a lot more money to fix vandalism and all those types of things than it does to create a space that has a space with them in mind.
Mhm.
Anybody can say, oh, they can go to the gym, but that's still those spaces, gyms and city parks. And I'm excited, Jen, because I've been seeing some of the research about this, that they are specifically targeted for young children, kids who are 10 and under. Think about the playground. Our kids don't have any interest in that.
Mhm.
And so they leave out these two very specific groups, teenagers and elderly.
Mhm.
Not elderly, it's 50 to 65. So
Mhm.
like not the seniors, but
Right.
like, you know,
Mhm.
and so this new program we're rolling out, and we'll talk about this later, but
Okay.
this new program that we're rolling out is exciting for me because it's intergenerational. But
Mhm.
I feel like the community is responsible for making sure that everyone here has their needs met. That's our job, that's just our job. So we did a really good job from the beginning, like I said, of making sure that donors felt like they had a seat at the table to give their money. But what I learned from you, Jen, is that even though they've given you their money, it's important to, we would say thank you, but we didn't do a great job of like donor, what is it? Not engagement, but maybe just engagement.
Conversation, engagement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
making
Mhm.
sure that we're continuing the conversation even when we're not asking for money. Um,
Right.
keeping them updated on what's going on, inviting them to things, and you've done a really good job of helping us be more thoughtful about that, even in donor messaging, making sure that we're talking to different donors, like as individuals. And
Yeah.
so that's not something that I had been privy to before. joining your session. I think it was the masterclass where we talked so in depth about messaging and how you have like profiles, and just I was like, wait, this is a whole job. This right here should be somebody's job. And for some organizations it is. Am I right, Jen?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need one.
Well, I think that let's talk about, where do donors come from?
Mm-hmm.
Donors come from those individuals who are attracted by your message, right? Mm-hmm. They find themselves in agreement with, wanting to support, wanting to be a part of the solution, right? So where do they come from? They come from the people that you've had conversations with about the need. And I think that for many of us, it's like, I built it and they're going to come, right? I built it and they're going to see the importance of what I built, and they're just going to come and want to give money to it. But how do they know where to go? And how do they know what's important? It comes down to your messaging. And I am convinced all of y'all out here, let me tell you, let me speak to you. The finger's up.
Yes.
This right here, this finger is up. All of y'all that go cut and paste somebody else's mission statement that is not your own. And then when you are in front of a donor, you can't even remember what the mission statement is, nor can you tie and connect that statement to the need of your community. Why? Because you decided to go on Google and cut and paste somebody else's mission statement. How do I know this is true? Because when I ask you what your mission statement is, and I ask you, does your board know your mission statement? And do your donors know? You shake your head no. I had to get that off my chest. You stole a mission statement and you can't live it out.
Someone did that to us, right?
Huh?
Someone did that to us, right?
Oh my gosh. Oh yes, you told me about that.
Yeah. Copy and paste.
Copy paste.
And then invited me to like the Facebook page. I'm like, this sounds awesome. Wait a minute. This is word for word.
Yeah.
It's obvious. And as you said, she wouldn't have been able to regurgitate it. And then it didn't last. Even when she changed it, it didn't last, because the intention was not from a solid space. She wasn't willing to do the work. Even if she had a good idea, or even if what she was looking to build around was, I guess legitimate, she wasn't looking to do the fullness of the work. And that, I think that is what sort of weeds out like the people in the industry that are not gonna make it. It's not sustainable to fake. It's not sustainable to steal. Stealing is not sustainable.
It's not. And listen, and your donors, right? Where do I find donors? Donors are looking for organizations that are able to speak clearly about what they do and about why what they do is important to them, not just to you, right? So you find donors by connecting your mission to what is of interest to them. And there are many people that have various interests, right? So it's not like I take one statement because somebody told somebody else, another finger. Let me use the other hand. The other hand that said, and let me get this 30-second elevator pitch, right? That I have rehearsed for 30 seconds. And everyone that I meet, let me pin them in against the wall and spew this same message. That does not work.
No, it doesn't.
And it also it says, I'm looking at you as a person to pitch to, as opposed to a person that I want to build a relationship with, around mutual understanding, mutual appreciation, and mutual support of a cause.
Yeah.
And we're going to these trainings where they say donor, but they don't say the donor's name. They don't identify what is the donor interested in. What are they passionate about, and how does that connect? And I want us to not think as if we are a nonprofit. No, you're a business whose solution is your product. Your product is solution. You're not
Right.
a nonprofit. You are a community-based organization that has a mission for solution.
Mhm.
You are a person, you deal with people, and your donors are people. And I don't think that there is that connection of they're people too. How do I find people to be in relationship with? I've got to be friendly. I've got to want to speak. I've got to want to know what they're interested in. I've got
Mhm.
to be curious as to what they know about our audience. Or is it, Jen, I just need the money. Someone join my group. If you're watching me, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. You join my group. You join my group. And the first thing out of your mouth is, so I just need some donors because I need to raise money to do this event. I want to buy a house. So I need donors. I'm like,
I don't think people get that it is a form of like you're using people, even if it is for a good cause, it's still transactional.
yeah,
That's the word I want to.
yeah.
And it's like what it's not, there's nothing wrong with a transaction, but if I don't want to be engaged like that. Like even when I'm going to the gas station, say hello. Nothing burns me up more, Jen, than me walking into a restaurant and nobody speaks to me.
Right.
I won't walk back out. I'll leave. And I don't understand, like there's really no difference here, right? I think a lot of the donors that and maybe my story is not so different, but sometimes it feels different in that we created a really strong synergy around seeds out of the gate. And I think that's because of how well connected my family is. So people trust us in a way. But I think it's important to say that because it can cause people who may be listening to be thoughtful about who they already know, who will be willing to share their message and their intention. But also, I started going to everything and anything that was happening in my city. You remember, I was
Mhm,
somewhere every 2 days. If
mhm.
there was a mixer, if there was a drop-in, if there was some sort of nonprofit meetup, or even just things that I don't want to say that other organizations were hosting, but like sort of like young Black professional things. I went to those spaces to meet people and engage and find out what they were up to or what they wanted to do. And of course, in those situations, you exchange information. You say, well, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing, and people get to know you more. And I'm in South Carolina, so it's a small city.
Mhm.
And here it's really about who you know. I feel really confident that a lot of the success we've had is because people trust me because
Mhm.
they know me. And so seeds is not this, blanketed thing, which I hope that we gain that level of notoriety one day where we can be listed in Jen's list of, boys and girls clubs. And, I want you to be able to say seeds and people know who you're talking about without it being about me, right? But you got to start somewhere and people connect with people. And so what I think happened here was people saw me out and about. People saw that I was being consistent. People saw that, like you said, every time I came, I wasn't changing up what we were doing or what our plan was. I had updates, here's what we're up to now. But also I, would ask if we want to go to coffee or you want to go to lunch or do you want to, let's do dinner or you want to come by the Seeds house once we have the house. People love coming here. You know that.
I love coming there myself. I do. I love that place.
People love coming here. And I'll say sometimes, I'm like, oh, do you want to do coffee? They're like, yeah, at Seeds. And I'm like, coffee shop, but you're welcome to come here.
I am already planning my next trip. I'm like, when can I go back? When can I go back?
Come
I
on back.
love coming there. I love it. I love it. I love it. I
We
love it.
love having you. We
So
do.
let's talk about what you just said about, people getting to know you, people being familiar with who you are, and you are the executive director and the leader of Seeds.
Mhm.
I think that people need to understand, um, nonprofit leaders need to understand that you cannot operate in a vacuum.
Mhm.
You cannot operate in a vacuum. And I hear all the time people who say, "Well, Jen, I'm just not comfortable talking to people.
Mhm.
Or I get bashful in front of people, or I don't like to speak in front of people." And my thought is that you want to connect your donor wants to be assured that this is not about you
Mm-hmm.
and that they're not giving money to support you, right? That you are standing in a place of advocacy, of educating those that would support your work that would never be a part of your program, right? Like many of your donors may not have wayward teens that are in the prison to, the school to prison pipeline, but
Yeah.
they believe in the value of this pipeline being stopped because it benefits the community at large. How do they know that? You having to be the educator, you're having to be the advocate, you're having to educate and share with them and having conversations. Most people don't want to debate because they feel like, oh, you're rejecting me. No, I'm telling you what I know, what you know as the expert in this field. And I'm filling in those gaps and the gaps of knowledge and information to help you make the best decision. If you choose to or not, at least you're informed of
Right.
what we're doing and why the work is important. And so for those new nonprofit organizations that are starting, who feel as if I'm starting to run a program, your donors are supporting the impact of your program,
Mm-hmm.
not your idea of
Right.
doing a program.
Mm-hmm.
Am I clear? It's like, I have an idea, Jen. I want to do this. I want to create a home, a transitional house, and I want people to come and have a place to stay. This is my mother right here. And I want them to come and I want them to live forever. And I want to feed them. I want to clothe them. And I'm like, well, who's going to pay for the lights? Who's going to pay for the food? There's insurance happening. Listen, they got who's going to pay for all of that? They don't have a job. Who's going to pay for their underwear? Who's going to pay for their pads? All their personal items. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, where is that money going to come from? Oh, donors. I'm like, now we're getting to it.
Mm-hmm.
How do donors know that what you do is important to them? I'm like, because let me tell you, let me roll up on you and say, hey, I have a house. Can you give me $1,000? And you're looking at me like, who the ding dang devil are you?
Yeah, why?
And do I know you? Are we related? You're like some stranger all of a sudden have an expectation
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to give you $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a plan, without a plan. And you might not even know how much to ask me for. That is what baffles me the most when people are like, I need to raise money. My favorite. I'm like, how much? And I just watch them go, and I'm like, you need to go make a budget. You
Yeah.
need to go make a budget and then come back. And I'm gonna tell you something else to do too. Because you're skipping steps. You're skipping steps. And I think, Jen, you make a great point because these are people, these are people. And what I was really bad about, well, I'm gonna go to that next. But I really think it's important to make sure that people are clear that the part you talked about educating the community, the thing you talked about not being shy and really connecting and being able to have these conversations, that is the job. That's the work of an executive director. That running the house and making sure people are fed, that's program director. Even like facilitation or, activities coordinators. Like even some program directors never actually reach they don't touch the people.
Right.
But we have been, conditioned somehow to believe that, and I did it too and still do sometimes where I have to wear all these different hats. But one thing I can say is that as executive director, I go out into the community and I connect with people. I don't do the best job of following up because I don't like to talk on the phone. And that's what I was getting to. I don't like to talk on the phone. And so what you so brilliantly helped me with is that, looking at volunteer profiles, because everybody can't give money. I might be getting off track a little bit, but these donors need to be engaged. They need to get phone calls. They need to get emails. They need to be invited to things that are appropriate for them to come to. Any opportunities for them to be a part of what they're funding is, really important for us to be mindful of and to make sure that they feel like there's space for them. And I think that is often dropped because we, like I said, have been conditioned to believe that working in a nonprofit or being executive director is like doing the program. But that's different. That's program, not organizational oversight. Like that's executive director work. And I was telling a friend of mine the other day who I I don't think she's starting a nonprofit, but I think she's looking to do like a little bit of a social enterprise type thing.
Mhm.
And she talked about wanting to speak at this conference. And I said, oh, that's really, go for it. You should apply or whatever. And I said, well, did you go last year? And she was like, no. And I said, so you're going to start by, okay, so what's the last conference you've been to locally? She's like, well, I haven't been. I'm like, so you're just you have to engage the spaces you want to occupy. And that's sort of how I think about donors. Like, we have to engage these people if we want them to buy into what it is that we're offering them. Why do we think that we can just come in, like you said, which is kind of what I felt like she was doing. I'm like, you're just gonna show up and say, I get to speak here. You have no public speaking experience. These people don't know who you are. You've never been to any of their events.
Yeah.
And out the gate, you're gonna speak at a conference. Like, I think sometimes there's a bit of entitlement, and I think sort of similar to that happens with donors, where we meet these people and we're like, here's how much I need. And they're like, what's your name again? Because oftentimes, Jen, what I found is that while I'm occupying these spaces, these people have been in those spaces for years. Now I'm one of those people, where people are, I am one of those people that's been in the space for years. But when I first started going, I kind of had this impression of like, oh, everybody here is maybe nervous, or everybody's, new, but this is what they do all the time. So those people who are uncomfortable, they're like, oh, I don't want to say anything. I'm like, you're not the first one to walk in and nobody know you. But are you gonna stick around? Are you gonna be one of those fly by nights who just comes in asking for money that nobody's really giving you without, vetting you a little bit? Or what else kind of burns me about donors, Jen? And when we just get started, you ever hear those people make the post and they say, I just need $1 from everyone on my.
Yes. It's my birthday. Any amount for my birthday. I'm thinking, what? What?
The messaging is really problematic and confusing for anybody who would actually want to like keep giving, like they don't know why.
And it's the steps that they don't know, right? And that's the steps of starting, that's the steps of leading, that's the steps of fundraising, that's the steps of sustaining, that's even the steps of turning the organization over to your successor once you retired, right? So there is no skipping of steps. That means I understand the steps, I understand the system of how to achieve each step, right? Many of us start with our 3 people, because they said you need 3 people to get the nonprofit paperwork, right? That all it means is you got a number. It does not mean you have a nonprofit. It means, I'm using both fingers, it means you have a number. All right. You don't have a plan, you don't have a strategy, you don't have a system to support the business, right? So people now got the step. All I need is 3 people, and the IRS, the I, the R, and the S is going to give me a number that it gives me the permission to raise money. Now, this number is not a golden ticket. It's not like Willy Wonka. I have hit it big with this number. I've not hit a jackpot with the number. Okay. So the number just says you have been properly registered for those who are going to give into your organization to be able to get the tax write-off. But that's not why people give. They do not give because you've got this number. They give because you are able to deliver impact. Now, the step of I got 3 people. I got my mother, my brother, my dog, my cat, my fish. I put their names down, and none of them can help me. None of them know the steps. None of them know and understand the vision. But I feel, this is the person going into this meeting, right? I just am going to go in and I'm going to share my passion. I think secretly everybody wants to be a teacher or a preacher. They want to be a teacher or a preacher. They want to stand in front of a room and they want to teach people from the front of the room based on their limited knowledge, right? They just want to read it from a script and let me teach you. Listen here, let me write on the board. All right, you've been taught. Or they want to get behind some kind of sacred desk and talk about my passion. I just want you to I want you to feel my passion. I'm like, Everybody closetly wants to be a school teacher.
That's interesting. I can get behind this theory. I really
Can
no,
you agree with my theory?
that's okay. I'm over here like, It really is. That is common. Yeah, people just want the mic.
They want the mic. They want the mic, and they feel as if I rattle off a bunch of stuff that don't tie together, that people will feel and be moved by my anointing to be passionate.
And they'll give all their money.
Check, like write a check because of my passion. That is not why people write a check.
No, you often have to share really, like, when I know that I have the attention of and I don't love talking on the mic. I don't. I do it. I think I do a good job, but it's not what I look for. But when I know that, when I can see in the faces of people who are listening that I have their attention, it's usually when I'm sharing the most heart-wrenching things about my journey, the things where, the things that are happening in these kids' lives that kids should never have to navigate. And they definitely shouldn't have to navigate those things alone. And so I think what people don't realize is that it's really not about talking about like what you do or why it's important for you to do it. I mean, I think that works sometimes, but I think what works even more is like, here's what happens if we don't do this, or here's what's been happening because we haven't been doing this. And that's just what I've seen, for when I can tell, when I see checkbooks and wallets coming out, that's not why I'm doing it, but that's the truth. That's when I'm saying, here's what our kids are up against. And like you said, most donors do not have the experiences of the beneficiaries of your mission. And so you're educating them. And that's why our mission is to interrupt the school to prison pipeline via advocacy, education, and direct services. So it's part of our job to make sure that people understand and know that donors included know, like, here's what's really going on. Because a lot of times I think we take for granted what we get to see in our day-to-day. And there are people who have the means and who want to help, but if they don't know, if we're being shy or won't go live on Facebook, which I'm not great at anymore, but I'm gonna get back to it, or won't, share our events or go out and talk to people, then, are you really that passionate about it? Because people don't even know about your issue. They don't even know about your cause. Because, I think it was Ashley Thomas at the Hive. The Hive for me was one of my most, I would say, like the way she shared her mission and the importance of making sure that the space was specifically for women of color and Black women. I was like, well, we already have such and such down the street. And she was like, that's true, but here's why this is important for us to do it in this way. And it clicked for me. But had she never sat down and said, here's why we do it different, how would I know? And I think that's what we have to understand, that as EDs, it's your job to educate people about your cause, but also about what their money will do to move your cause forward. And that was really impactful for us too. You remember when we finally figured out, like, it's going to take X amount of dollars for this and X amount of dollars for that. People would give because they felt more compelled to say, this is what my money is going to be a part of. Like, I'm going to be able to help change a kid's life in this way, or potentially change a kid's life in that way. And so people feel more comfortable once they have that clarity, but that requires clarity on our end. We have to be clear about what we're looking to do, build a relationship, but also say, who am I talking to? Like, I mean, I think it's the same for board members, and we can do that another day, because as usual, here we are looking at the time. But but I think realizing that these people just want to be seen as community members, as concerned community members. You remember that those donors that came here that summer, and I was so nervous because the foundation set us up with them, and I was like, so meeting with donors, I don't know. Like, I've met people who have become donors, but I've never had someone say, we're going to send these donors to you, they just want to meet you. I feel like an interview. And so I went on this thing and I told all these stories, and at the end of the day, they said, well, they came with a check. I didn't know they were coming with a check. I thought they were coming to
I
vet me.
knew they were coming with a check.
You
I
did. As usual. As usual, Jen was like, they're coming with the money. I was like, no, Jen, it's an interview. It's like they're checking me out. And she was like, okay, let me know how it goes. And I mean, I don't want to say I cut back clips, but I was very like, I know my stuff. I'm talking to these people. And we had a great conversation. And I ended up just getting lost in it and just hanging out with them. And we had snacks and we just had a really good chat. And at the end, they said, well, we just wanted to bring you this, And it was, I think it was like $2,500, and that helped us carry our camp, through to the end. We didn't have plans for how we were going to finish up. We are just trusting that it's going to come. And it did. But I think what's important about that story is that we also have to realize that there are people watching us, and waiting for an opportunity to be a part of what we're doing, and so that is also a part of why it's important to go in those spaces and build relationships and be friendly and be approachable. Because if people see you as sort of like standoffish, like, why would they say, well, I want to definitely make sure, I want to know more about, if you're looking like, don't talk to me. No one wants to know more about what you're doing. And I've seen that, Jen. And then get the email the next day. And I'm like, I just saw you yesterday, sis. Why you didn't tell me about the thing?
Yeah.
I was just with you. That is the most bizarre thing to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I see people and then get a Facebook invite to something. Why wouldn't you say it to me in person? It's weird.
I think that your point is people give to people.
Mm-hmm.
And your donors or your prospective donors are people that are watching you that you don't even know are watching you. And I say this all the time. I said, listen, you put your name out there. People who are interested in what you do are watching. Why are they watching? They're wanting to see, are you consistent? They're wanting to see, are you integral? They're wanting to see how you interact with their friends and colleagues, right? They're about to support you, and it's a community. I say all the time, this right here is your community.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes to the same Piggly Wiggly. Everybody goes to the same Walmart. Everybody goes to the same gas stations. Everybody goes to the same houses of worship. Everybody, it's a community. Your kids go to school together. Your husbands and your wives work together, right? You interact. Y'all are sitting in the same line to pick up your kids every day at school.
Mm-hmm.
So you raise your awareness from a community of people who see you, who know you, and who know other people who know you. And so they're wanting to feel confident and secure that their investment of they go to work every day. They go to work every day. They get their check and they can make a decision on what to do with it. But they choose. I want you all to hear me. 98% of your donors are going to come to you because of your impact. And of that 98%, you're not going to have to ask all of them for money. You show the impact, the result, and they will find you. They will donate anonymously. They will give you and send you checks and things where they say, I don't even want anything back. I don't even want you to know it's me. But they support and value the work. And that's how you find donors. You promote, you share your product. What's your product? Your impact, the value that you bring to the community, the solution to the problem. You're saying this is how they come in and this is how they leave. And this is how it benefits the community. Once you are clear about that, you have now gone beyond, I have an idea, to now I have a plan to sustain my business. How do you sustain your business? Being able to continually share impact to those people in a way that's important to them. You're talking about the Hive, which I think is an amazing organization. Ashley is so bright and so intelligent and so passionate about her work. But if you don't have a conversation, those little things that need to click, they only click through conversation.
That's it.
People give to people. Donors are not faceless. They are people that give to people. Okay, they give to people, and so you make relationships with people, you build trust with people, you relate to people and not their checkbook. I'm like,
Right.
you don't even know this person's name and you're already asking how much can you give. That's kind of spammy, almost pimpish. It's like, listen, I want you to come here and give me a little service and I'll throw a little change up on the counter. No, we are not out here hustling for people's money.
No.
We're building relationships with people who would want us to continue to support your work. Now, you guys are going to go to these trainings and they're going to say donor, and they're going to say that you need to cultivate the donor, and they're going to say you need to go and thank the donor, and they're going to call them donor. But they have a name.
Mhm.
They have a name,
Mhm.
and they want to be approached differently. Each
Mhm.
person is different. Zakiya is saying, I don't like the phone. You
Oh my
talking to
God.
me, tell me. Don't send me, I don't want to talk on the phone.
Please don't call me.
And
Please.
don't email me because I got 9 emails. And the email that I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna give you the spam email. Everything you send me is going straight to that spam email until I know you. Now, when I know you, I might give you the other email, the one that I actually respond to.
Mhm.
That's how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you telling me about like sending handwritten notes and letters and things to people, even when they haven't given anything. And that's something we were able to do for a while. I would really love to get back into that, especially getting the kids involved in it.
Oh,
But people would call me. Like people would call me or see me, or I went to, and my friends and family are supportive of seeds, but that was not my business plan to
mhm.
run it on friends and family. But if I go to someone's house who has given or we've sent them a letter, y'all, that stuff is up on their fridge with their kids' pictures. I mean, that really means a lot to people, especially when the garden, like when we had the garden and it was, really, you remember that we did those pictures of just like a really beautiful harvest, and telling people that, we couldn't have this without you. And, we like it literally wouldn't exist if you hadn't shown up for us in the ways that you have. That goes for volunteers too. Volunteers are people too. So I think it's about thinking about how you want to be treated. Because as you see, if you pan this room, it's full of stuff that people have made and given. There's nothing on the walls. Never thought about it like that. There's nothing on the walls that's like typed, or that's just robotic or mass produced. Everything here has that personal touch, and I think it's special to me, so I leave it up. Just like donors, they want to feel like individuals, like who you're talking to. We all get that email that says, "Hey, Zakiya," and for a while it used to get me, Jen, but I was like, nope, these people have Mailchimp. They are entering my name. They are not talking to me.
Mhm.
And so, what's the difference, right? Like we're doing that same thing. That like I want to trick you into thinking this is the personal message for you, but it's not. All 375 people on my mailing list just got the same thing, and that's okay sometimes. But I think it's also important for us, like you said, to connect with people when we see them physically. And I mean, it's 2020 now, Jen.
Yeah.
Everybody has a phone. No one really does business cards anymore. People exchange numbers.
Mhm.
I always try to say, if I get someone's phone number or email the next morning, say, "Hey, it was so nice to meet you last night. Really enjoy." I'm better about that now, Jen.
Mhm. I'm glad.
But those are people who, like you said, they give unprompted. For Midlands Gives, I mean, we do Midlands Gives is, I know people are watching that aren't from here, but like that 24-hour online give-a-thon thing, that's our biggest fundraiser every year. And what I've noticed is that while we do a countdown and we try to engage people on social media via our newsletter, there are people who give every year no matter what, that I can almost bet maybe didn't see that. They like, it's a part of their intention is to support us, and they know what time of year it is. And so I
I
think
think that those are those yearly givers, right? They give at that time of year every single year. So
no
what
matter
you
what.
extend to them is, we're excited that Midland Gives is coming around again. We are excited about reaching our goal. And those people that's when they give, they're like, all right, I'm in. That's my time to give. And so you don't have to send them the whole countdown. You don't have to send them the other, blanketed stuff. You just let them know, hey, we're ready, we're excited, and this is our goal. And those that give at that time of year those are those donors that time of year want to help you reach that goal.
That's it. And they show up every year. So it can be done.
Listen, guys, Zakia and I could go on and on and on, but we're going to stop right here. And we're going to say that we hope that you have gotten lots of nuggets from this live. Our goal is to set aside this Tuesday. We have decided to come in every Tuesday, to share nuggets with you. We hope that in your appreciation or showing your appreciation, you just leave a comment, like, subscribe, and just let us know, what nonprofit did you give? You know, it's not so much in what we say, it's probably what we've laid down and you're like, oh my gosh, now the light bulb has gone on, or I didn't think about it that way. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear your thoughts, your questions, your feedback. Again, we are embarking on this journey to help educate and inspire those of you who are starting your nonprofit to start it the right way. There are steps. And skipping steps is bad. You cannot go from kindergarten straight into high school and be thinking that you're going to be able to perform. You cannot do that. All right. You can't go from the DMV and say, listen, I'm 16. Now give me the keys to a car, and think that I'm going to be able to go out and manage and handle this vehicle for the long haul of the journey. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to be successful. We want you to be excited and celebrated for the great work that you have been called and committed to do. So I am excited for your journey. I'm excited to hear about your journey. And I'm most excited that my friend, my colleague, a leader that I respect, Zakia, has decided to join my crazy idea of creating this platform for you all who are listening. Any parting words that you'd like to leave with the people, Zakia?
Again, always honored, shocked still that you feel like I'm qualified to have these conversations. No, but I think if nothing else, people just, it's sort of the golden rule. Treat people how you want to be treated. Because most people who run nonprofits have been donors too. So you know what it feels like to be engaged, or to be approached with a cause or a mission, and we all know how we like to be approached. So just be mindful of the fact that these people, while they might have more money, well, they might, it shouldn't even be count people's pockets, right? But we might perceive them to have this expendable funds. It's still their hard-earned money, and so engage them in a way that feels humane, and keep them around, because I think it's only right that they get to see the fruits of their investment. I think it just feels like the right thing to do. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to next Tuesday. This is fun, and it flies by, which means because I could keep going. It really flies by every time. But I'm looking forward to next Tuesday.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. And thank you for being a part of the work that is really intended to change lives and to change your communities. I believe that it is the nonprofit that is going to change the ills and the areas of our communities that need hope, need inspiration, need an infusion of impact. And it is the work that we do. We do the work that government cannot do. We do the work that businesses cannot do, traditional businesses. And that's what we're called to do: change, transformation. So I want you to know that your mission matters. I want you to know that you are well equipped to do this work, and there is support out here for you that's going to help you do the steps. Now, I'm going to say this: do not call Zakia and say, Zakia, can we do lunch, so that you can tell me what to do. No, there are appropriate channels to get the help and the work that you need to do. And if we can answer how to do that, we're happy to do that. All right, y'all, have an amazing rest of your day. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.